awakening. And I've brought controversial speakers before. One of the speakers has been Alexander Dugin, Putin's right-hand man and the main ideologue behind Russian geopolitics. Had him like a year and a half ago. And so I just bring controversial people. And with the situation in American politics right now, Richard's pretty controversial. And it just turned out to be a key opportunity at the right time. Never expected it to be this big by any means, but it shows that Mr. Spencer's message is of a concern in America right now.
What is triggering this kind of response?
I really, personal belief, think that the left, and we've seen this in the Trump election, has just been so arrogant that their way is the right way and the only way, and that they see their glass ceiling cracking now. So they're in hysteria now. They're in hysteria that Trump won the election. They're in hysteria that somebody like Richard Spencer is at a major university in America today. Anybody else? Trying to kill some time here. Anybody else?
How much is A&M charging you for security and things like that? I know that was an issue beforehand.
Yeah, the university reported between $3,000 and $3,500, and that's an accurate amount.
And how many officers are you expecting for security?
We had a meeting with University Police Department last night. They are going to have a number of officers inside the building, and they're ready for backup from the county and from, what would it be, not Texas Rangers, but the state police as well.
Do you have an estimate on how many?
No, they just said they're really prepared for the event. They didn't really want to give out a number on that.
Were they cooperative with you?
Very cooperative, yes. And they've worked with the district attorney, they've worked with county judge, city judge, and having clarification of what laws are concerning hecklers, concerning disruptors, and they're ready to act upon them within measurements of the law.
Hecklers are one thing, but these are strong issues. Are you concerned for your safety or Mr. Spencer's safety?
What we've seen after the Trump election, particularly like in Portland, California, where cars have been burned and communities have been set on fire, things of that nature. Yeah, the left is radical, the left is violent. When I say left, I mean the far left, not your average leftist person. Richard, in his event in Washington, D.C. recently, is the first time that they've had violence at one of his events. But the left has had violence in the past, too. But it just seems as though we're at a new era with them, that they're in such dismay after Trump won the election. They're in dismay after the right has gained such popularity in Europe that instead of sit down and reason and try to solve these problems, they resort to violence. Anybody else?
Could you give your name one time?
Preston Wiginton.
You spell it?
Preston, Wiginton. A lot of mics. Yeah.
So, Preston, I mean, while we've got time, so why do you feel compelled to bring controversial speakers? What compels you to do this?
I use the term that I think that the left or liberals have had an orthodoxy of education for the longest time in American universities. And to me, in education, there's always two sides of the coin. So I like to bring the other side so it can create dialogue and conversation for the students.
How often do you bring speakers?
2010 to 2014, there were 2013, there were a pretty good handful of events, probably every other month. I had some changes in my life where I wasn't able to do anything for like the last year and a half. And with this event, hopefully there can be more in the future. I've talked to Talib Starks, author of Black Lives Matter, a black man that wrote the book. I'd love to bring Camille Paglia, an anti-feminist, to the university. But I like to deal with issues that really concern society today, but nobody wants to talk about.
How many people attend so far through those events?
We've had one event where it was standing room only, over 200 people. But the main thing is it brings a lot of discussion to the university. We had a situation with Jared Taylor that only 11 people showed up, but it stayed on the front page of the online newspaper for 2 weeks, and there were over 700 comments concerning the event. And you have to realize, when I bring somebody to this university, there's major effort by the university to make it to where nobody shows up to the event. University professors tell their students not to go. With the Alexander Dugan event, the president's office did everything legally they could do to stop the event. So the fact that these people are so controversial that they are heretics of today, to me, says something about the university of why won't they let them be heard.
So as evidenced by all of us here and the attention this event has garnered, do you think that in terms of Mr. Spencer's message, that this is an opportunity to bring that conversation into the mainstream?
I think this event just furthers that. I mean, obviously he's been in the mainstream quite a bit, but I think this event catapults it even more. But I think it had to be on the conscience in American society, and we'll say white American society at that, for this to even be significant. And I think with the Trump election, with the amount of the white vote that Trump got, with Trump's ideas of a wall, curbing immigration, etc., that it's a political topic of the day. I mean, white people are concerned about being displaced, about being marginalized. So I think that that's part of the popularity of today's event and Mr. Spencer's words as well.
What are your expectations for this evening?
I really kind of think as much media coverage on it that it's probably going to be a packed house. I mean, we have 50 people on a guest list already of our people. There are a number of students that I've contacted that want to go as well. Then I think general public. And of course, there's probably going to be a number of agitators as well.
How big's the room? How many people are you guys going to put in?
400 plus media, so.
What do you mean by our people? And did you put out a call to different groups locally?
Just people who associate with the alt-right. People who
Around the country?
around Texas. Anybody else? Next question.
What's the outcry for you? What does it represent? And yeah, what does it change?
I'm not the most articulate person. I write stuff down pretty good. I'm very tired from all of you media contacting me night and day for the last 3 days. But just to generalize, the alt-right is really about identitarian politics. And Richard obviously is concerned about the identity of white people, per se, people of European descent. But it's an awakening in America of white people that are fed up with political correctness. People are fed up with being displaced by affirmative action, are marginalized in jobs and education and economic opportunity by massive amounts of immigrants, by political process of affirmative action, etc. So in America, as we deal with identity politics of others, I think what Richard's trying to do is make white people realize that they're going to have to do the same thing for their survival, for their prosperity of the future, and for the future of their white children. As we fastly become a minority in America and Europe and Russia, we're looking at a different landscape in which we live. When we're no longer the majority, when we no longer have the majority of influence, you look at competition for resources, higher prices, etc. We have a lot to think about as far as our future goes.
A lot of attention was brought onto this organization after that previous meeting, the video of the individuals doing the Nazi salute. Have you done anything to discourage that from happening tonight, or do you encourage that?
Surely don't encourage it. I think Richard would have a better answer for you on that, because that was his event and more his people. I'm sympathetic to their cause by all means. It was kind of part of it maybe 10 years ago. I'm not that political now. But I mean, when you have 5 or 6 people out of, what was it, 200 or 300 people, that doesn't represent the whole group by any means. So I think it's very misrepresentative of the whole group.
But you recognize how some consider that to be extremely offensive.
Yeah, absolutely. And people who do that within the movement it's discussed with them, and it's either straighten up or ship out type situation, I think. I know it's been that way in the past. That we don't need to look towards the past. We don't need to look back to Germany. We don't need to do things like Nazi salutes. We need to worry about today and look towards the future.
This may have been asked earlier, and I apologize for coming in late. What do you hope to gain by this event tonight? Tomorrow morning, when we wake up and these individuals are writing all their stories and their accounts of what took place, what do you hope to gain from this?
Well, I'm saying this jokingly in the sense I didn't charge any of you to get in. I'm going to charge you to get out. And I'm going to go on a long vacation. But for Richard, I mean, for me, it's just another event. I mean, I do have some political interest in it. It's interesting to me. Richard's going to be a better person to ask that question of what his goals with the alt-right are, because I don't represent that. I don't represent him. So I think that's a better question for him in the next few minutes.
But you organized this. You invited him here, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
So what do you hope personally? That this is going to be a flash in the pan movement, or do you think that this can have traction?
Well, I think it does have traction. I mean, when we see the rise of right-wing parties in Europe, Le Pen's potentially going to win the presidency of France. Hofer in Austria just lost by a few percentage points. I think it's a reaction of the changing demographics of the world, the changing demographics of America. And personally, for me, with the event, I hope that enough students at A&M say, wow, this was an interesting event. The next event that Mr. Wiginton holds, which will probably be Talib Starks, the black author who wrote Black Lives Matter, I hope they'll show up. I hope they'll tell the professors, hey, we want to hear the other side of the coin. So that's my personal hope with all of this.
Why A&M?
Familiar territory. I've done events here over the last 10 years, so just knowing the people to call and knowing how to set up.
I spoke to some students, especially minority students here on campus, that are concerned by what they perceive this movement, this organization represents. What do you say to them? Don't worry.
No, they obviously have identity politics. There are a number of minority organizations on campus. I respect that. It's just a double standard. Why can't white people have theirs? And in the same sense, in a cultural sense, in Texas, we have many wonderful heritage societies. In LaGrange, we have a wonderful Czech society. In New Braunfels, a wonderful German heritage society. Why aren't they ever on campuses in Texas? There are a number of white people that are descendants of those two ethnicities. But they shouldn't have any fear at all because we respect what they do. We just want to emulate what they do. Does that make sense to you?
Earlier you said that you don't want the movement to look back on Germany, but during many of Spencer's speeches, he used German terms like Lugenpresse. He also used...
And this is a better question for him. Just listening to all his interviews, he's used terms from Napoleon. He's used terms, Japanese terms. He's used various terms. It's just the media has handpicked a few German terms that he's used.
Do you agree with his uses of those terms?
Again, better question for him. I think he's just using terms that to, I don't want to say, bring attention, I guess is the best way. Anybody else? Anybody else?
You think that's the right kind of attention?
You guys are all here, aren't you?
Is Richard coming in to talk to us too?
Yeah. He's just ABC Nightline. He's right across the way. I need to get over there and kind of cattle prod and get him over here. If you guys will excuse me for a minute, because I know that's what you're here for.
No problem.
All right. I've been having to do that all morning long. I'll be right back.
Just what Another set of mic checks. You good? Check, check, check. Mic check. It's amazing. We only found one frequency problem.
All right. Well, welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous. I am so happy that you're all here. Oh, gosh, that was a joke. You feel free to laugh. No, I don't think you're here for that. You're here for a press conference, and you're here to talk to Preston and me. So, Preston, would you like to make the first statement? Yeah, you can talk. He can talk about what he is trying to accomplish by bringing me here, and then I can tell you a little bit about what I hope to accomplish. Maybe I'll